Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Nick Beasley Show. I'm your host, Nick Beasley. We have a massive guest today. He's a former D1 baseball player, a current high school baseball coach, and a former JUCO baseball coach. His name is Taylor Goodwin. So, Taylor, how are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm excited for the interview.
Excited to have you here. So I have a few questions for you.
All right.
We're going to get started.
Perfect.
Question 1. What would you say is the hardest thing for any college baseball player to adapt to?
I mean, for me, it was adapting to the speed of the game because, I mean, when you're in high school, you're pretty much like a big fish in a small pond. And then when you go play college baseball, especially at the Division I level, everybody's just as good, if not better than you. And when you're a freshman, you're just having to really catch up to everybody's throwing hard, everybody's breaking balls are really sharp. Everybody's able to tee up on your fastball. 90 miles per hour isn't blowing it by anybody at that level. So just really getting caught up to the speed of the game. And then also one of the biggest things is adapting to the schedule because, when you're in high school, at least for me, we didn't really start practicing till late November, December, and then we would bring it into to the season in January and February. Well, once you step foot on campus in college, 2 weeks in, like you've already started practicing and you've already started weightlifting. So it's a full year-round commitment. So it's basically a job, and it's definitely something to adjust to.
Fantastic. I also would like to say, because I've followed your career, I saw how hard you worked. I saw all the time and commitment you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm extremely proud of you for that.
Well, I appreciate it.
Question number 2. What was your biggest challenge during your freshman year of college?
Biggest challenge freshman year of college, probably being away from my family. I mean, Gardner Webb was 7 hours away from the house. I mean, if you look it up, it'll say 5.5, 6 hours. But when you drive through Atlanta traffic, it's a 7-hour drive. Just being away from family for the first time. We had just had a loved one pass away, my brother. So, and that happened, 2 weeks after I graduated high school. So a month and a half later, I was moving to Gardner Webb. So just adjusting to having to grow up a lot and be doing things on my own and not having my family there was pretty tough. So I would say that was probably the hardest thing that I had to adjust to during my freshman year.
Absolutely, and hearing about your brother, that brings up a lot of emotion. So.
Mm-hmm.
Question 3. How difficult was it battling the injuries you faced during your college playing career?
Man, it was tough. I was always one of those kids throughout my entire career who never really had arm injuries. Never really had too many injuries to begin with. And then, whether it was my senior year of high school, having to miss that because of a lower back injury, or fast forwarding to my sophomore year when I ended up tearing my right labrum in my hip. I ended up having hip surgery then, and I was out for my whole entire sophomore year. And then after my redshirt sophomore, aka junior year in the classroom, I had shoulder surgery. So, 2 surgeries within 3 years of graduating high school was not always fun. And it was tough, man. There were a lot of ups and downs. It was a lot of, just like questioning life, questioning baseball, questioning myself. And I was really vulnerable. But it was during those times when I was able to rely on God the most and my relationship with Him that I was able to get through it. So, yeah.
Absolutely not. I know you coach at the high school level.
Mm-hmm.
I know you also coach a little bit at the JUCO level.
Yep.
So my next question is, when did you decide that you wanted to coach young men in the game of baseball to not only help them perfect their playing skills, but also to help them become strong, responsible, God-fearing men?
It's funny. I never wanted to be a high school coach. I never wanted to be like a middle school coach. I never wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to be a college coach. My family and my friends would aggravate me and say, "Oh, you're just going to end up coaching high school or middle school ball." And there's nothing wrong with that. I just never wanted to do it. And so I would always push back and just say, "No, like I'm going to go do college ball. I'm going to go do this." But then as I got older, I realized, college ball, it takes years for you to break into the business. And if I want to make money as soon as I possibly can and provide for my family, I need to get a job at the high school level. And then also, one of the biggest reasons was, besides the money part, obviously, it was about 2 weeks before I graduated in the fall of 2020 from UNA. I I was looking to make a little extra money, and my mom, she works at an elementary school, and she told me to come sub for her PE class. And I didn't really know what to expect. I was just going in there hoping to make some extra money, nothing too crazy. And so I was there for about 2 weeks because one of the PE teachers was on maternity leave. She just had a child. And so I started doing that, and I tell you, man, I just started feeling like God was really calling me to do it. I started falling in love with being around the kids, and just trying to be a light in a world that can be so dark. So I definitely feel like, obviously, I just sit down and have some adult conversations with myself about how, if I want to get married, if I want to provide for my family, I need to, obviously look at the financial side of it. But the most important side of it was, God truly started to call me into doing that in the fall of 2020. So, yeah.
Absolutely, and seeing your relationship with God like blossom and develop the way it has, I'm extremely proud of the man you've become and the man you'll continue to be.
I appreciate it. What was I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
What made you want to help them also become responsible, God-fearing men?
Okay, yeah. So I mean, my relationship with God is not something that I back away from. It's it's the most important relationship that anyone can have. And so, that's one of the reasons why I love working at a private Christian school, because it's encouraged and for us to spread the gospel and for us to be a good role model for our kids. And so, obviously, like, I want us to be the best baseball team that we can possibly be. I want our athletics to grow and be the best that it can possibly be. But most importantly, I want these kids to know who Jesus is. I want them to know the sacrifice that He made on the cross, and I want them to, through Him, develop a relationship with God. And so, being able to coach and be a good mentor to them when it comes to their sport, but also being able to talk openly about God with them is, it's huge. And, it's good for me personally because, I played sports all my entire life. And so, being able to relate to them on a sports level, but then also, I'm still pretty young, a lot of the high school kids, especially like the older kids, I could be like their brother. And so I'm able to relate to them really well, but also be able to, just tie it all up with, keeping God at the center of it. So,
absolutely, man. So the fifth question is, what would you say is the biggest difference between coaching the high school students and then coaching college athletes?
That's a good question. There's a ton that's different. High school kids. When you're coaching, you're also having to teach too, for the most part. There's some people that don't. But like for me, like I teach PE, and then also this year I'll be teaching health. And so, for the first 8 hours of the day, like I'm teaching, and like I'm not really doing much coaching. And then for the last 2 or 3 hours a day, like at practice and or like in the weight room, that's what I'm coaching. And so, but then when you look at it, so I was at the junior college level where I was just a head strength and conditioning coach. And so all we were doing is, I was coaching them in the weight room and then on the field. And so there wasn't any teaching going on. Like I wasn't having to teach them PE. I wasn't teaching health or anything like that. And then also, just the caliber of players, like when you get to the college level, everybody's pretty good. And everybody thinks they're good. And so, dealing with guys who are coming from all different sorts of backgrounds, all different sorts of places, especially me being like at a junior college, for most kids, it's 2 years and done. So you only really get to know a kid like for 2 years. Now, granted, I only did it for a year, but still, developing the relationship with them can be a little bit tough because, a lot of kids transfer after a year or, like I said, they're done after 2 years. So you only really know them for a short period of time. But like at the high school and middle school level that I'm at now, I'm getting kids from 6th grade through 12th grade. So, I'm getting them for 6 or 7 years. So I'm really able to get, hopefully I'm able to make a really good impact in their lives because I get them for so much longer. So.
Awesome, man. And I can't wait to see what you do with those kids that you're coaching.
I appreciate it.
So I know that you also played 1 year at the JUCO level.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the biggest difference transitioning from being a D1 athlete to becoming a junior college athlete?
So I spent 2 years at Gardner Webb, and then one was a red shirt because of my hip surgery. And so, I did a lot of praying during that time. And, me and my family just kind of thought that, it'd be best for me to be back closer to home. And so I still had a year of eligibility left to go to the junior college level, so we thought it was a no-brainer. It wasn't an easy decision, because, I loved Gardner Webb. I loved the coaches. They were good people, and they gave me like a shot out of high school. And like I pitched a pretty decent amount my freshman year, and I was set up to have even more innings my sophomore year. So it wasn't easy at all. But after having hip surgery and not being able to travel with the team and just kind of being down in the dumps, honestly, and just doing like a whole lot of prayer about it, I just thought it was in my best interest to go to the junior college level. And so when I got there, man, it was it was an adjustment. Obviously, I think whether it's D1, D2, D3, junior college, or NAIA, I mean, guys can still ball. Guys can still play. I mean, you're going to see 95 mile per hour arms at any level of college baseball. I had a pretty successful season that year, but it was tough, man. It was a grind. There's such thing as the JUCO grind, man. Though they like to call them the JUCO bandits, man, because some of the things you see, some of the things you do are just. It's crazy, but it just makes you a better man. And I was lucky and blessed to be coached by Randy Putman, who's one of the best junior college coaches in the entire state, and not just the state, but the entire country. He's actually in the National Junior College Association Hall of Fame, and just getting a year with him as a player and then being a year with him as a coach was just a blessing, man. He's very hard-nosed, very tough love kind of guy, but he pushes you in ways that you never would have thought possible. I mean, he's a no-nonsense kind of guy. He wants results. But at the end of the day, if you do what you're told, if you put your best foot forward, he's going to do whatever he can to get you to the next level after that. And so, I was blessed after that to end up transferring back to the D1 level at the University of North Alabama, where I ended up finishing up my bachelor's degree and graduated from there, which was super cool. But yeah, man, that junior college grind is different, man. It's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Awesome, man. So the last two questions, kind of put together, but not really. The seventh question is, if you could rewrite your baseball career and change where this journey has taken you so far, would you? And what would you have done differently?
That's a good question, man. I'm impressed. That's a good one. I feel like anybody who says they wouldn't change it is probably not being completely honest. And so what I'm about to say that kind of calls me like a hypocrite. All the things that happen, whether it's injuries, whether it's the transferring, or whether it's just not quite living up to expectations that I had for myself, all of it led me closer to God, and that's all that matters. God has me in a situation where I'm at. I'm married now. I work at a great school with great administration. I was close to God as I've ever been. I'm active in my church. I feel at home in my church. Me and my wife are blessed to lead a small group, and I can honestly say, man, that if everything had happened the way that I wanted to, and the way that I had my life planned out, I wouldn't be anywhere as successful spiritually and as a man as I am today. And so, yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to go back and not get hurt and, maybe potentially get drafted, obviously, and then, go play pro ball. But, like I said earlier, I mean, anybody who says they wouldn't change it, may not be being honest. And so, and then now, of course, I'm saying that I wouldn't. But because I've thought about that before, just about things, I wish this would have been different. I wish that would have been different. But at the end of the day, God's got me exactly where He wants me, and I trust in God's plan no matter what. Because our plan is not always going to line up with what God's plan is, and that is something that it took a lot of failures, it took a lot of questioning, and it took a lot of heartbreaks in my life to really get me to understand that. But I'm so glad that it ultimately happened. And so, to answer your question, I wouldn't change anything, truly.
Fantastic, man. And like you said, it's all part of God's plan. God puts us where He wants us to be, and He puts you in a position where you're able to teach kids about baseball, but also teach them about Him and teach them His lessons. So that's fantastic that you found that, and so glad that you did.
Yes, sir.
So the eighth and final question, and it won't be the final question. I have a bonus question for you. But
okay.
What college accomplishment are you most proud of?
College accomplishment. College accomplishment. I mean, I think it's pretty cool to have played at multiple Division I universities, but that's probably not it. I mean, I'm gonna say two. When I was at the junior college level, me and a pitcher of mine named Dalton Hall, we combined for a no-hitter, which was pretty cool. So, that goes in the record books. And then at the Division I level was probably, it's an accomplishment, but it was also one of the first like big moments. I had made several appearances before this, but when I stepped on the mound at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, I remember I kind of looked into like the stands and I was just panning over and I was like, this is the number 8 team in the country. This team's stacked. I'm about to face a kid. His name's Brian Miller, who ended up being a first-round pick, I believe, to the Marlins. And I ended up scoring. I ended up throwing a scoreless inning, but I was just like, this is truly incredible. Like, I am pitching against an ACC team, like one of the top 10 teams in the country. I'm like I'm here. Like all those hours of, my dad throwing me BP, or all the travel ball tournaments, all the recruiting visits, all things that led me to this moment. It was there, and so that was those 2 moments were pretty cool. So yeah.
Fantastic, man. You mentioned Coach Putman at Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
What lessons did he teach you that you now take with you to teach these kids at the high school level?
That's a tough one. Because, like I said, like he's a no-nonsense kind of guy. He's not really going to feel sympathy for you. I don't mean that like in a bad way. Like if you fall down and like you break your leg and your bone's sticking out, I'm sure he's going to be upset. But he's not going to feel sorry for you like if you have a bad outing or anything. But one thing he used to always say, he hates the word potential. Everybody likes to use the word potential, like whether it's in recruiting or it's in school or it's in life or whatever it may be. Like, oh, look, this kid has potential. This kid has potential. And he would always say, all potential is just something that you haven't done yet. Like, you haven't shown me that you can do it. Sure, I can look at you and say, hey, if you gain 20 pounds, you can gain 5 miles per hour. That's just potential. That's just me making an assumption. So that was one thing that always stuck out to me was that, the word potential is great and all, but you have to show it first. Like, you have to reach your potential. Like, you can't just say, oh, I got potential, and then not do anything about it. Like, you have to truly work towards reaching that potential. I could talk about them all night, man, but those are some of the things that, I really appreciate the man. I mean, I really appreciate about the man for sure.
Absolutely. And the last question that you answered before that one, you mentioned your dad.
Mm-hmm.
What lessons did your dad teach you growing up about maybe not just the game of baseball, but also being a man, being a husband, and being a leader?
It's a baseball saying he used to say, but it's, practice like you play. And, I mean, I had heard it later on in life too, but he was always the first person to always say, practice like you play. And so whether that's doing homework, because, like, if you do your homework right, then you should do well on the test. Or if you, do something for your job correctly, that's going to lead to good results. And so if you practice how you play, then you're going to play well. And so, I don't know, that was always something that, like, he used to say, and, like, that would make me take practice a heck of a lot serious. Because, a lot of guys who have talent, they kind of just go through the motions when it comes to practice. And it's very nonchalant, but it's during those practice reps where you're able to become your very best because you're working on things specifically. And so, I don't know. I mean, that was always one thing that he used to say. My dad was he was very. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to word it right. He was very. He expected a lot out of me, and I appreciate that. And he did whatever he could for me. So like. Can't tell you how many hours BP through, how many tournaments we went to, showcases, how much research the man did. I mean, he was helping me write emails for all the schools. Even something like I didn't even know about, like the man was emailing for me. He truly wanted me to succeed almost as much, if not more than I wanted to. So, I can't thank him enough for that. But yeah.
Fantastic, man, and thank you for sitting down with me and doing this interview. I am blessed and honored to have had you on the podcast, and I can't wait till we can do another one.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it, man. I love what you're doing. If you're not already subscribe to the Nick Beasley Show. He's going to talk about anything from pro wrestling to baseball, football, basketball. I appreciate it, man, and God bless everybody.
Thank you. Okay, guys, thank you for joining us for this interview. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. It's Nick Beasley Wrestling on YouTube, and TikTok. It is Nick B. E Sports on Instagram. Thank y'all.